You, my audience here on YouTube, has been asking these amazing questions, and there's been so much activity that I couldn't even get to everything. So every week now, I'm answering questions right here on YouTube, and these are some of the ones that I've received by email. I like this format better than just typing little answers in a box because I can answer questions with a little more detail and vibrance and mood. I'm Anna Runkle, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy, and I teach people techniques and strategies to heal the symptoms of childhood PTSD. These are steps you can take at home, whether you have access to professional help or not. So today I've got two questions about relationships, and I'm going to keep these people anonymous. They're both sent by women. And here's one, okay? I'm so glad you wrote to me, Melinda. Dear Anna, I've been following your work for months now. I suffer from CPTSD. I'm trying to find love with a partner again, but the last relationship I had was very traumatic. It brought up a lot of trauma from my childhood. My parents got divorced when I was 7 years old. After the divorce, my parents rebuilt their own lives, but forgot to help me and my sisters grow, which to me felt like abandonment. Today, I'm constantly trying to understand my emotions. I don't always understand my behavior. For example, I got close emotionally to someone who is married at work and appreciated his emotional support. Both times we were at a party together, I drank too much and was completely inappropriate with my words. Now the guy has ghosted me at work, but we still have to work together, and I'm feeling abandoned all over again. Do you have any suggestions for me as to how to let go of this? It's constantly playing in my mind. Help, please. Okay. So first of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry about what you went through as a kid with your family breaking apart. And yeah, it sounds like your parents had a lot of drama and they weren't able to give you the attention that you needed. And I know about the feeling of abandonment. It's brutal and it can make things feel very distorted and hard to understand what's really important and what's actually inappropriate. So I'm really proud of you that in writing to me, you told me about the kind of emotional connection that you had with this married man at work and that you realized that some of the stuff you said was inappropriate. So right there, you get credit for that. And you're doing the right thing trying to let it go. And I know you're writing this to me and I'm answering it in February 2021 in the middle of a time when most people in the world are feeling more isolated than they're used to. And people with CPTSD are so often more isolated than people on average, even when they're out in a crowd, even when they're in a relationship. So I know that that's hard when you have that kind of emotional need inside. It can be almost like starving, and you get near something that feels like love and everything in you just wants to grab onto it and hold on to it at any cost. But here's the thing, and this is so common for people with CPTSD, going for somebody who's unavailable or inappropriate, very common. And why do we do that? Well, it's partly from a sense of need. It's partly from distorted thinking. I call it magical thinking, really. There are a lot of kind of twists and turns that our minds are capable of making when we want something so much. Now, the thing is, there are probably lots of single guys out there who would be happy to go out with you, right? You're probably going to say, no, it's not that easy. I know that feeling, but I also know that you're probably not going to wake up to the possibilities until you're able to emotionally detach from this unavailable man. Unavailable people shut your mind down and they shut your heart down. And that's how it has to work, because otherwise you'd see what a bad deal it was. You'd feel the pain that it was causing you. Now, why is it hard to meet and fall in love with appropriate, available people? I'll tell you why. Because people are triggering, and actual relationships are triggering. And when PTSD is not treated, when it's not healed, those triggers can make it necessary to stay completely like inside of a membrane, away from other people. But there's one way that you can kind of stay in a membrane but still have something like a relationship, and that's through unavailable and inappropriate people. We still have this need for romance and connection. And so that's how these sorts of emotional romances can become so appealing and become viable for us. Because trust me, when you're healed, Melinda, somebody who's married will not be on your radar screen of good ideas. Trying to get happiness from someone who is committed to somebody else is such a sad and self-destructive impulse, really. And healthy people, they don't get that idea. They don't think, oh, this guy it's going to make me happy, or this time it's going to be different. Now, it's not your fault the thought is there. It's a common trauma thing, but continuing to keep the flame alive by thinking about it, fantasizing about it, trying to connect with this guy in some way that you think looks like okay or safe or legitimate, it's poison for your happiness, not to mention his happiness and his wife's happiness. And I believe that you have great empathy for other people, but CPTSD can just shut that down if you don't take some quick action to prevent hurting everyone. You can't count on your heart and your mind and your intuition when your childhood wounds have hijacked your mind. You need support and you need a plan, all right? So the first thing I want to suggest to you is while you work this out and heal inside yourself, I want you to make a hard line and just say, you will not pursue contact with this guy. He ghosted you. He won't reply to your communication. And I know that hurts. And I know it brings up abandonment trauma. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But you're going to have to sit with that feeling and not try to make it go away with more pushing for connection, because what he's doing is right. He's keeping his job, you're keeping your job, and no contact is absolutely appropriate in this case. And I think you'll find that the sooner you kind of get your heart around that and get your mind around it and accept that you can't be friends, that no contact is the right thing to do, and you abandon all hope of having a conversation or trying to apologize or trying to repair the relationship, the faster you're going to heal from this. Now, I realize you might have to have some kind of professional contact with him, but you're going to have to keep it very clean. And don't go trying to apologize. Your apology to him is to stay away. That's what it is. That's the best thing for him and the best thing for you. And if you want true love in your life, if you want to be married someday in the future, the best thing you can do is stay away from unavailable people, because they will tie up your emotional energy. You won't get what you want, and that's often the least of your worries. You can hold on to the attachment in your mind if you really want, but I'm telling you, it will empty out your soul. You won't have the adventures or the experiences or the emotional growth of being in actual reciprocal relationships with people who are available. They're available to you. They love you. And what it does when you're attached to basically what is a ghost is it turns off your cab light. And I'll tell you what that is. So if you've ever seen taxi cabs, I don't know where you live, but taxi cabs, they have a light on top, and it's a cab light. And it says that the cab is available. When nobody's in the cab, then you can see it's lit and the driver drives around and you can go, hey, to the taxi cab. The light's on. That means it's available. So when the cab light's off, that means not available. Somebody's already there. So an analogy for what happens to us as people when we're ready to date, when you give all your emotional energy to an unavailable person who's not fulfilling you, your cab light just turns into like, ugh. It's like there's not somebody there. There's nothing there. It's just a great big emptiness that's turned your light off. And any healthy person who meets you will look at you and they're not going to see like a potential partner there. They might not know why they have this feeling about you, that you're just like not a potential, but they'll feel it because they're healthy. And unhealthy people, on the other hand, they might be attracted. They might be looking for somebody just like that, who needs nothing, who's content with a ghost. Or you might attract people who are looking to self-destruct right alongside you. And that's exactly how you can end up in negative and unfulfilling relationships, including office affairs. That's one grade of empty relationship. But I know that you want and need real love, and you do deserve it. And here's what's going to help you find real love, the kind that makes you happy, with someone who's fun and who actually talks to you every day and celebrates your birthday and makes you dinner and gives you a present, right? That's not what affairs are. That's not what they are. They are not a happy way of life. So let's help you set yourself up instead to heal your abandonment wound. And it's totally understandable how you got that with your parents' hardships and the lack of loving care for you. When a 7-year-old is abandoned emotionally, that can cause changes in the way your brain develops. And it can plant the seeds of fear in you in a way that's hard to change, like cognitively. You can't really learn your way out of it. Sometimes it's a deeper experience than that. You can change that, but until you heal, it's going to have a tendency, that abandonment thing, to keep coming up. It's going to keep throwing up powerful feelings of abandonment every time anything similar to abandonment happens. That guy at work can't actually abandon you because he was never with you, but it feels like it. It triggers that whole surge of emotion in your body, almost like a drug releasing inside you. Abandonment melange, defined by Pete Walker, is this. It's a combination of three vicious emotions of fear, anger, and grief. And they go so strong and they're circling around and they can so powerfully like take you out of feeling like you even belong in the world. It's a sense of alienation like nothing else I've ever known. And it can feel like you must do anything to make it feel better. But the secret is doing nothing is what helps it feel better. Having friends is what helps it feel better. Staying out of entanglements with people who are ultimately going to hurt you and leave you drained. That's how you make it better. And when you start to have consecutive experiences of dating and having an okay experience, that abandonment thing is going to start calming down. It'll always, sort of be there. You'll always have maybe a sensitive spot there. What I have done and what you can do is use my daily techniques. That's what I do to sort of calm the triggers. And so much more have I lost that intense reaction to feeling abandoned. Occasionally there are times when it comes up, right? And I'm married, but even then, within the marriage, sometimes that feeling of abandonment melange comes up. But because I've been working with it so long, I've been putting it on paper so long with my daily practice, and I've taken the steps to be in a secure, loving relationship in my marriage. When it happens, I'm able to say to myself, I'm going into abandonment melange. And when you can name that horrible state, it's like an emotional flashback. When you can name it, you start to drain the power out of it. And you can start to say, it always feels like this, but that doesn't mean that's really what's happening. And I can take measures to keep myself safe and cozy until it washes right through me. And it will, it always does. It'll wash right through you. But ironically, I call them cotton candy relationships, things that you just want to have, and they're so sweet and nice in the moment, but they don't nourish you. They don't nourish your heart and your life and your future. Having those candy relationships is going to make your abandonment wound worse, not better. And it's very similar to like a drug addiction, where somebody wants to use a terrible, devastating drug again one more time, because it's just going to get them through the night, but it ends up making them more addicted. So I want you to think of it like that. Think of it as very analogous to a drug addiction, and let yourself be in withdrawal. It's going to pass. You can be in withdrawal from this. And in time, if it's right for you, moving on from that job is going to help a lot too, just to not be in the vicinity of someone who you've cared about that much. You do need emotional support, and you need somebody who cares about you and who can be present for you. And you have time to do that. And you can do that with your friends now and gradually find a partner to do that. So good for you for stepping out of that situation. And I wish you strength and fortitude as you go ahead and ride out the storm of the abandonment melange as it washes through you. You will be okay. Okay, second letter now. This one is from somebody I'll call C. I'm a 23-year-old female, recently graduated from uni, living with my mother and younger sister during the pandemic. As a background, my father was a narcissistic abuser, and he abused me until I was 18. He also abused my mother and sister. We've been estranged for 5 years. Well, this is hard. I've been in therapy for 5 years, good going, and I'm currently dating in the pandemic, very brave. This is hard enough, but my mother's reaction to me dating during the pandemic is causing dysregulation, difficulties in my relationship, and confusion as to how I should proceed. She works at a doctor's surgery and obviously takes COVID very seriously, as do I, but she is taking it to a whole new level whereby I feel unable to see anybody, even for a walk. It has been putting extreme pressure on my relationship, which is only a few months old. I asked my mother whether I could see my boyfriend for a walk outside, only to be shot down with the statement, "If you want to see him that bad and don't care about me ending up dying or on a ventilator, then okay, sure." And I think this is toxic behavior. My younger sister has mentioned the gradual decline in my mental stability the more my mother's anxiety increases. I obviously have enough of my own issues with romantic relationships as it is, and I'm embarrassed by my home situation and thus my own behavior. I have been recently erratic with my partner, breaking up with him once because the stress from my mother was so severe, and I felt like I had to choose between my relationship with him and my relationship with my one remaining parent. Oh, honey, that's hard. My mother says she wants me to be happy, but she also gets resentful and moody even when I call my boyfriend or text him. I no longer believe that this is simply about COVID. It's making it hard to date anyone. Yeah, I think you got to read on that. My boyfriend is understanding of my trauma, and I recently apologized, told him the truth about my mother and why I've been acting the way that I have been. I would like advice on how to be better and how to proceed in a healthier way. Look at you. Dating is hard enough for me considering my CPTSD and the pandemic without feeling like my one parent, the only family I truly have, is putting me under more stress. I'm interviewing new therapists, meditating, and journaling, but I would love some extra insight and ways to cope. I don't feel like her behavior is conducive to my happiness. Nope. I'd like to be in love and happy, but my mother seems to always sabotage my relationships. I'd love some advice, please. All right, Miss C. That is a tough situation. My heart goes out to you. I don't see any easy answers here, and I think you've already figured that out. You can't just tell your mother to shove off because you live under her roof, right? And I think the final word on this comes from her, even if she's being triggered by you dating or triggered by the pandemic, and part of that is for good reasons. At least some of it is for good reasons. But it's her house, and I assume that she's paying the bills. And sometimes when you just need an equation of who gets to decide what to do in a situation, that's what does it. She's paying the bills. And I would just point out, I don't know if it's economically possible for you, but you would not be losing your only parent if you were to move out of the house, if that were possible for you. This whole pandemic has gone on so long, you know? Nobody expected it to go on this long. And I don't know where you live. It looks like Britain. So I expect the lockdown's pretty severe there too. I know it's been hard over there at the time that we're reading and writing this in February 2021. I totally sympathize with your desire to have a boyfriend too. And you've already met him and you like him and you want to go out with him and you want to be in love. And that's totally appropriate and understandable for a 23-year-old. So I'm happy for you that you've been able to put that together. That's actually tremendous progress. And I hope he's a great guy. And if he's a really great guy, he's going to have a little bit of patience while this is happening, because what it sounds like to me is your mom has legitimate concerns working where she does. Maybe she sees how sick some people are getting. And I notice that people who work in healthcare tend to have a little bit higher level of fear about catching it. And, maybe we can take a page from that. And you might be right. She might be overreacting too. She might be overreacting some, but she gets to do that because she is working in a healthcare environment. She is dealing with this scary situation. She does need to keep herself healthy for you and your sister. And I'm keeping in mind that she's been through a whole lot too. She's been through a horrible violation of her trust and safety by your dad, and whatever her process has been there, I can totally understand that you starting to have relationships scares her and brings up those feelings. So I'm not really excusing it, but I do know that everybody's not perfect. And especially lately, I feel like we have to give each person about a 40% margin where they're not quite themselves right now. There's extra anxiety. There's a lot going on. We have hope that it's going to get a lot better and a lot freer. And some of the things that are going to happen in the future is COVID will pass. You will not always be living with your family, right? And you will have some time distance from the abuse that happened to you in the past. Now, I think going slowly is one of the most powerful and self-loving things that a person with CPTSD can do in a relationship. And not to demean you, like 23 is a very appropriate age, but it's only been 5 years since your abuse ended. And I didn't read your whole letter to everybody because it would have taken trigger warnings. I know you went through horrendous stuff. It went on for a long time, and it takes time to undo that. Being in therapy is very positive. Being in a relationship can be positive if the person is very supportive and sensitive and willing to go at a pace that you can go at, and able to have some boundaries with you in case the way that you were affected by your trauma is that you want to go too fast or too deep for them. And so a lot can be worked out with a kind partner. A lot can be worked out. With a partner who's not that great, a lot can be damaged. If you were damaged in the past and this is not really a healthy or mutually loving relationship, you can get hurt some more. And I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to be very, very like safe and nurtured just because I want that for you. I'm not saying you have to do what I'm saying, but I just want that for you. I want you to take it easy, to go slow, to let this unfold slowly. You never know. Maybe the artificially slow structure of living with your mother during this time is actually a blessing for this relationship, to force you to go slowly and allow you to build up the closeness and the communication with your boyfriend that would otherwise kind of get it would kind of get blurred out by, a rush into intimacy. And take it from Miss Anna. Okay, rushing into intimacy with CPTSD is not a way to happiness. So it got happy for me when I went slowly, and I just think maybe you've been given this golden opportunity to do what I didn't learn to do until my 40s. You get to do it in your 20s and go slowly. And if it doesn't work out with this guy, that's okay. You have so much time, and you are so thoughtful and considerate of people, and everything you've said in this letter. I see all this strength and resilience. You'll have all the chances you need to find true love if you can heal. And so please take care of yourself. For the time being, I think you do need to honor your mom's wishes. And I wish you good luck in your relationship, and I hope you get back to me and let me know how it goes. Okay? So that's it for this week on the Q&A session. If you have a question to bring to me on Ask the Fairy for one of the future weeks when we do this, you can send me a question. Email it to me at anna@crappychildhoodfairy.com and put in the subject line, Ask the Fairy, so I know that this is something that you're interested in having me read on YouTube. And with that, I wish you well and have a great week, and I'll see you soon.